Welcome back to Disturbed Reality. Today we will be covering a case linked with one of Mexico's most infamous drug cartels, and this involves the capture and murders of Felix Gamez Garcia and Barnabas Gamez Castro. These murders were recorded and uploaded to the internet, and subsequently shared by many gore sites online. The victims in the video were Felix Gamez Garcia and his uncle Barnabas Gamez Castro. These men in the video worked for the notorious Sinaloa Cartel, run by Joaquin Guzman, better known as El Chapo. The Sinaloa Cartel is one of the most recognized in Mexico. It's a large international drug trafficking, money laundering, and organized crime syndicate established during the late 1980s. The cartel is primarily based in the city of Culiacan, Sinaloa. The United States intelligence community considers the Sinaloa Cartel to be one of the most powerful drug trafficking organizations in the world, so they are certainly not to be messed with. But let's get back to Felix Gamez Garcia and Barnabas Gamez Castro. The infamous video starts with both men sitting against what appears to be a rundown wall or building. Both men are shirtless and both men have been restrained, with their hands behind their back, either handcuffed or tied up. The video starts with both men being interrogated in Spanish. From what it appears in the video, there are multiple captors, including at least 2 gunmen, so these men are outnumbered, outgunned, and restrained. Now obviously I don't speak Spanish, but I have done some research in regards to what was being said in the interrogation. Now there are numerous descriptions out there of what was being said in the video, but after delving forums and Reddit, there are a few descriptions that kind of match each other, so I'll give you the gist of what was going on and what was being said. The interrogation starts as both men identify themselves as Felix Gamez Garcia and his uncle, Barnabas Gamez Castro. Felix Gamez Garcia sold drugs in Phoenix and then was arrested and sent back to Mexico. In Mexico, he was tasked with taking messages to and from El Cholo, which is their acting leader to El Chapo Guzman, which is their real leader, but is in prison. Barnabas Gamez Castro, Felix's uncle, said that he hooked up with the cartel through his nephew, and that he just ran errands for them. He was working on getting a 3/4-ton pickup released, which had been confiscated, and had also taken radios to a colonel they had on the payroll. Barnabas Gamez Castro mentioned that the last errand that he ran, he got paid 300 pesos, and in conversions in the UK, that is about £10, and in the US, it is roughly $15. And that is absolutely crazy. When you're taking that sort of risk, risking hard time in prison, or worse, ending up like this, when that's what you're getting paid, man, it's absolutely insane. It really is. I mean, we see media these days, whether it be movies, TV shows like Narcos, they'll kind of paint the picture a certain way where, yes, they'll point out that that lifestyle is very dangerous and very risky, but they'll also point out how glamorous it is, the money, the cars, the women, the mansions, the parties. They'll kind of glamorize it in a certain sense, but in reality, 99% of people in those cartels, the foot soldiers, really aren't getting any money whatsoever, and they are living a terrible, terrible, dangerous lifestyle for basically nothing. But yeah, back to the interrogation. Essentially, both men went on to say not to steal from the cartel, and that if you witness something, just keep your mouth shut and avoid these people. The uncle, Barnabas Gamez Castro, said that he wanted to tell people not to get mixed up in this because it wasn't worth it, and he said that he and his nephew's lives were now worthless, and that was all he had to say. So yeah, essentially from the rough translations online, it appears that these men in the video stole from the cartel. A lot of people describe the men in the video as snitches, but that doesn't appear to be the case. It does appear that they were stealing from the cartel, which is hardly any wonder when these guys are getting paid 300 pesos per job. But that is the interrogation in a nutshell. After that, it gets bad, really bad, and before I describe what goes down in this video, again, I would implore you guys not to watch this content. Again, it's just not worth it. It does absolutely nothing for you or your psyche. Before I describe what goes on, I'll roughly give you the backstory on how I watched this video. Now, I saw this video shortly after it came out, and if memory serves me correct, that was around 2011 or 2012. It was one of those 2 years. I was definitely still at college, so I would have been around 17 years old, and at that time, you know, I was still going through my edgy teenager phase, and when this video came out, it actually got quite a bit of traction online, not quite as much as 3 Guys 1 Hammer, which I covered previously, but quite a few people were talking about this online, and even amongst each other. But yeah, ultimately I watched this video at college. We was all on lunch break, and one of my friends got it up on his phone, and like the little edgelord that I was back then, I decided to watch it, and here's essentially how it went down. As I was previously describing, the start of the video is just the interrogation, both men sitting against the wall, being interrogated. Once the interrogation ends, that's when the murders take place, and the first guy to be murdered is the uncle, Barnabas Gamez Castro, and he actually had his head sawed off by a chainsaw. Obviously that's an extremely brutal way to go, a lot of blood. The blood was actually spraying on his nephew, Felix Gamez Garcia, and yeah, Barnabas Gamez Castro got decapitated by a chainsaw, and it all happened rather quickly. It was all done within a few seconds. So yes, extremely brutal way to go, extremely visceral, but ultimately it was a quick way to go. A lot of these cartels are known for long drawn out and excruciating deaths for their enemies, and some may say that Barnabas was lucky to have his life ended so quickly. I do believe that was for a reason. Obviously his nephew Felix Gamez Garcia seemed to get him involved, and his nephew Felix Gamez Garcia seemed to have deeper ties with the Sinaloa cartel. So Barnabas had his head decapitated by a chainsaw. By the way, the striking thing about this video from what I remember was how nonchalant the guys were in accepting their fate. They wasn't kicking, they wasn't screaming, they basically accepted what was coming to them. So yeah, Barnabas was decapitated with a chainsaw, but unfortunately for him, he didn't have such a quick demise. Bear in mind that he saw his uncle just get decapitated with a chainsaw, and now it's his turn. He gets decapitated, but not with a chainsaw. Felix Gamez Garcia is decapitated with a hunting knife. This method took far longer than the chainsaw. I would estimate that it took around 2 minutes to complete the job. Throughout this time, Felix Gamez Castro was alive throughout most of it. The captor begins sawing his neck with a hunting knife, and throughout this you can hear Felix Gamez Castro struggle, gurgling on blood, struggling for breath obviously, and the noises throughout the second decapitation in this video were hideous, to be honest. That's one thing I remember from this video, watching it way back when. It's the noises of Felix Gamez Garcia that got me. And yeah, there was a lot of blood, and he was feeling every bit of it for as long as he was alive. But eventually they do decapitate him, and they hold his head to the camera and place his head on his torso. And that essentially was the video. It served as a purpose to let the guys in the cartel know this is what happens to you if you snitch and if you steal, and also just a warning in general to anybody who crosses them. The cartels in Mexico record a lot of murders for this reason, and that's why a lot of these murders caught on tape by the cartels are extremely brutal and extremely graphic, because they want to send a message to anybody who will mess with them, essentially. And actually there's a lot of speculation to say that ISIS actually took a lot of inspiration from these cartel videos. That's how hardcore a lot of these cartels are, and there are some gruesome stories out there and some real gruesome content. In fact, we might do a couple of more cartel videos in the very near future. This could be in fact a little mini-series. Maybe we'll call it Cartel Hell or something like that, but yeah, that's the video. Again, I would highly implore you guys not to watch this video. It just isn't worth it. I watched this video many years ago when I was a teenager, and I certainly wouldn't watch this video again. And like I mentioned in the previous video, I wouldn't watch gore videos just for the sake of, you know, YouTube content. So essentially, I'll do videos on what I have seen, but I'm not going to seek out this sort of content just to make videos. But there we go, that is the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, if I can use that term. Hopefully you at least found it interesting. Share your comments below. Tell me what you guys want to see next.